Hey everybody, Mherex here, bringing you the second episode in the D.I.Cable Guy podcast. Right off the bat, I want to get to something super exciting. This week, we're approached by TWO, and they wanted to sponsor the podcast, so we are an officially sponsored podcast. So big shout out to TWO, Toronto Wrestling Organization, for sponsoring us here at the show. This week we got a lot of stuff on tap to talk about. We're going to talk about the new Masters of the WWE Universe event, a little bit about the talent up that goes with it. We're going to talk about the last week in review, the Blitz, the Yellow TP Tour, and the Faction Feud. We're also going to get into Earthquake and Typhoon a little bit, how far we ended up taking them, how we feel about them. And probably lead into a little bit of discussion about Powerhouses this week. And we're going to wrap up the show with our thoughts on the new WWE Masters of the Universe characters and their movesets, the ones we know about so far anyway. With all that being said, I'd like to give a shout out and kind of give a little background on this week's special guest. This week's guest is Dr. Skeletor. If you don't know him, he really is a very ambitious Champions player. His whole goal is to obtain the biggest roster in the game by any means necessary. He's created a faction with several feeders, and the whole point of the factions is to move him straight to the top by any means necessary. He's a fairly dubious fellow, so this should be an interesting but controversial episode. So with all that being said, I want to say thank you, Dr. Skeletor, for joining the show.
This Dr. Skeletor dude sounds amazing.
Well, I guess that depends on your point of view. I think some people will probably find him amazing, and other people will probably think he's a scumbag.
I can't wait for him to turn face. He's going to sell so many t-shirts.
I guess I didn't think about that. That's an angle we could potentially work. We should probably shouldn't talk about that live, though.
Mherex, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm having a pretty good day, and not too bad. How about you?
I forgot to mention to you, we actually have 2 sponsors for this show.
What?
I made some phone calls, and I'm glad to say, in addition to TWO, we are also being sponsored by Big Red. Big Red, it's delicious. So shout out to Big Red.
Wait, the chewing gum?
No, Big Red, the chewing gum is disgusting.
Oh, well, what's Big Red then?
Big Red is a red cream soda that some people think tastes like bubblegum. Some people think it tastes like strawberry. Basically, no one knows what it tastes like. But it's delicious.
It sounds kind of good. That's awesome, though. They're sponsoring us. So, hey, I'll give them a plug. If you've never had it before, drink Big Red. It'll quench your thirst. It'll give you energy. It'll make you match gems way better.
Yeah. And just to be clear, it's not a paid sponsorship. We didn't quite get that far, but hopefully, I figure if we do a good job, maybe we could get some 6-packs or something.
Wait, so they're sponsoring us, but they're not giving us anything?
Let's move this along. We can talk about this here.
Okay, all right. Okay, so moving on. I would like to get your thoughts or what you think so far. I know we don't know a lot yet. There's been some stuff on the blog, and that's about it for the new Masters of the WWE Universe event. What do you think about this new event, Bob?
I'm actually really excited about it. I like new ridiculous characters that are over the top, larger than life. I'm all for it. Let's have Unicorn New Day. Let's do whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I happen to enjoy He-Man as a kid. Watched a lot of it. I think as far as a crossover event goes, this is pretty cool. The characters themselves look pretty phenomenal, and the preview videos I've watched, especially Faker Cena, he has some awesome move animations. It's like Champions Arcade. He's flying all over the place.
Yeah, the animations are super great. I'm really glad about that. I'm a little bummed that they didn't do more over the top animations for the Triple H character.
Yeah,
They did the spine buster. He's got that spinning spine buster, but then the rest of them is basically just King of Kings, which makes me very sad.
I mean the sledgehammer animation is a little bit slow. Um, but possibly forgivable in this case. I know we're going to talk about their movesets and stuff later, so we're not going to get into that now. But they look really good. The characters themselves look really solid. If you guys listening to this don't know, they're based on the Mattel line of toys with the crossover. So there's some that have been released and some that are in talks, but or not in talks, but are gonna be released. Basically, you got Triple H, Sting, Ultimate Warrior, Balor, Cena, Rock, Roman Reigns, a New Day one, Braun Strowman, Macho Man, Rey Mysterio, and Undertaker. So possibility we could get some pretty cool looking characters. Maybe get finally get a second Ultimate Warrior. It sounds like is happening for sure. Don't know about that 1000%, but it sounds like a second Ultimate Warrior. The Braun Strowman looks really neat. So yeah, I mean, like the Taker looks amazing. I don't know if we'll get another Taker yet, but if we do, he looks amazing. So yeah, definitely excited about that part of it. It sounds like a lot of the event itself is very similar to the last 2 months with the daily one tour things where you'll level Cena up to do those to get the bags and stuff. What do you think about that stuff so far?
I I think we probably will get some more Masters of the Universe guys, especially since both of these guys are heel characters, so they're gonna need some faces to even things up. Either that or the bad guys have already won, which, hey, I'm fine with that also, but we need balance in the universe. So, seemingly, yeah, I mean, at least one or two additional characters with them being baby faces makes sense. You mentioned Ultimate Warrior, Strowman makes sense now that he's a Universal Champ. I could see them, kind of giving him a little bit more publicity. But yeah, hopefully more over the top characters with over the top animations. I mean, I am all for it.
Yeah, I agree completely. If you guys also didn't know, the zombies are part of a toy line with Mattel too. So no inside information or anything here. Just my musings. I have a feeling that we'll see a lot more of these guys in the future, not just necessarily this month. So I plan on going after them, even aside from the fact that I like the way they look with the animations and stuff. But I think we're going to be seeing more of these events. But who knows? Do you have anything else you'd like to add to that, Steve?
Well, I was gonna say it doesn't hurt that seemingly spoiler alert. The Triple H guy looks pretty good.
Yeah, I would say, we'll throw that little spoiler out there. He does look very good. And we can talk more about that later. I know you are very into breaking the rules, so you want to try and take this podcast off the rails and go wherever you want.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Just a little teaser. We gotta keep the kids interested.
I got you. Okay. So, week in review. Last week, last kind of week of the event, had some stuff going on. There was the Blitz, there was the tour, there was the feud. I know your whole goal is to, get the biggest roster in the game. So I'm assuming you had your minions do a lot of heavy lifting for you with those. Do you want to start by talking about any of those in particular? Do you even care, or is it just a means to an end?
Well, last Blitz we had the Blitz. That was the one with the earthquake requirement that changed mid blitz, correct?
Yeah, one day into it, um, Earthquake was required even for hard mode. One day into it, they took him out of hard mode.
So I remember that blitz came up. I looked at the requirements in terms of how many points you needed, and how many you had to complete of each one. I looked at what prizes you could get for actually doing the blitz. Everything looked super great until I saw the actual characters required. And then once I saw that, it went from super great to super poopy, which was unfortunate. And
Yeah,
looking at that, the the hard blitz was inefficient in terms of the number of tickets to points that you would get for it. So the easy one was actually a smarter thing to do, but then you had to do like 35 or something. What do you remember what the number
I
was?
believe it was 38. I did do.
Yeah.
I think I ended up doing like 40 normal runs myself.
Yeah, you
Um,
had to do a ton of the easy ones to kind of pull your 1% if your alliance was going for it all. And then, yeah, if you had just tickets to burn, which I wouldn't recommend anyone burn blitz tickets at this point, you could have done hard. And then, if for some reason you were lucky enough to fill in the hell mode, then yeah, obviously hell mode was much better from an efficiency standpoint and from total points. So,
yeah, I think of all the blitzes we had this month, the last one was probably the worst setup, just because hard mode, even being fixed one day into it, the efficiency was horrible. Like the key to the ratio to how many you had to do points wise and how many tickets it used and stuff, it was pretty rough. Um, so you were basically forced into either normal or hell, and you probably didn't have the hell requirement. So of all the blitzes, it was my least favorite of them for that reason. Um, but you know, all of them can't be easy, I guess. So it is what it is.
yeah, and I mean, I know they want to have these, featured characters be requirements to kind of push people and reinforce, hey, we want you to level them, we want you to try to pull them. But I think they would be better served to have them as bonuses instead of requirements, to where if you have them, either you get bonus points for doing matches with them, or maybe their strength doesn't get calculated as far as the blitz total, something to where people feel like they're getting something extra for having them and not feel like they're being taken away, or something is being taken away by not having them.
Sure. Yeah, like
The
maybe.
whole it's the whole carrot versus stick thing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like maybe hard let Typhoon count if you beat the boss for more points and make it a little more efficient, a little more attractive to maybe do hard. Use Typhoon, have them leveled up, that kind of thing. I could see that. The one before, the blitz before, was super low cost on tickets, so, and it was very open, so I kind of liked that one a lot. But yeah, I mean, it
And I
wasn't.
mean, yeah, maybe this is kind of the format that they're going to have moving forward, where because that also wouldn't be too horrible, where maybe they have one open blitz and then one towards the end that's more heavily skewed towards needing the required people.
Yeah, that wouldn't
So
that wouldn't be too bad as long as the first one is doable, because it in recent months has counted for so many of the shards required.
yeah,
That then I'm fine. But if they keep this 2-star gold fuse thing going, I don't see that being too much of a problem. So
yeah,
the yellow TP tour, that was kind of a nice surprise. There was a lot of yellow TP in there, and it was right before the. I mean, granted, I didn't do. I think I was in like 28,000th place for the cash event where you spend cash or spend yellow TP, the superstar shard up, whatever it was called. So the yellow TP counted as bonus in that, and it was right during that, so that was really cool. And there's quite a bit of coin in there too. So that was a pleasant surprise. I was very happy about that. Completely unrestricted and open. I'm assuming, based on the way you are, you were not happy about that. You probably felt like you should have been the only one able to do that tour.
well, the problem with the tour to me obviously it was free TP, free coins. Yeah, whatever. That's great. That's I'm never gonna complain about, especially coins. But I felt like it was too short. Like I felt like, especially towards the end of the monthly, you get to a point where you kind of run out of tours, you run out of things to do, and then they release the what is it, the victory tours,
Yep.
and most people can't do anything on that. So it seems like the last week of the game, you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs, waiting until they release the details for the next month. So I like that they did release something, giving people an ability to do something with that. But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if it would have just been a little bit longer, or maybe have, some more requirements, some additional branches, something like that.
Right on. Yeah.
So not complaining, just a potential improvement idea.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's, I think, pretty
Was
pretty.
it? I honestly don't even remember if it was hard or not. I don't remember
It was.
any part of it being. Were there any restrictions?
No, it was completely wide open. I think I don't remember there being any restrictions. It was pretty easy. The guys weren't super leveled or anything, so most people were probably able to complete it through hell, I would say.
Yeah, I
If
mean, it does let the minions have a little bit easier time. I mean, you can't work them. You can't break their back every single day. Every once in a while, you got to give them a break. So
well,
it is what it is.
yeah, fair
Good
enough.
minions are hard.
They really are. Good minions are hard to find. Just like it's really hard to find a good co-host for a small but burgeoning podcast. I'm hopeful that eventually I can lock into someone who will do this on a weekly basis with me, and don't have to keep bringing in characters like yourself. Um,
I don't appreciate that. I don't like where you're going with this. You're making me feel unwelcome and unwanted. I don't know that that's what you're trying. I don't know that that's best for business.
I mean, I don't want you to feel unwelcomed because, well, I don't agree with your methods. I do appreciate the fact that you're on the show. So we'll just kind of gloss over that and move along.
I hope we can lock Big Red in. I mean, honestly, that would be a major plus.
I'm,
Big Red is delicious.
it is. And I am pretty sure, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Big Red was actually introduced at a TWO event shortly after they opened in 1897. I could be wrong about that, but I think there's some crossover there too.
Yeah, it wasn't an official crossover. Um, Virgil, a lot of you guys will know him as Million Dollar Man's lackey. His great great grandfather was actually a minion for the Big Red Company, and he would set up a booth outside of the TWO conventions to try to peddle his own products. And at that first debut convention, yeah, Virgil's great great grandfather just set up a booth and was trying to sell Big Red to the masses. But hey,
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, I mean we all got to get somewhere somehow. So I'm glad for it.
Right on. Um, so with that being said, the feud. How did that go for you and your minions? Did you have a good feud? Did you enjoy the feud? How far did you get? Like, what did you accomplish in this feud?
I don't even know. I mean, I feuded, yes. Um, I always feud. I did pretty well in feud. I had a lot of really good bleed guys, so I was able to really burn through it quickly. But it kind of lost its luster for me because the main prizes were, we kind of completely skipped over that, the gear and the plate. So since that was available in the what was it, Showdown, where we
Yep.
got that?
Yep.
Yeah, so since it was already there for Showdown, I didn't really feel any need or desire to really push hard to get a second copy of it. I mean, you certainly don't need two copies of the gear and the plate. I mean, the plate is somewhat limited. It's very good, but it's somewhat limited in terms of who you can use it for. So yeah, I mean, I went in there, got my matches in. Got a couple of ingots and whatnot. But yeah, overall, I didn't really feel the need to push all the way.
Okay. Yeah. I got to the second to last milestone. I had a lot of stuff going on this weekend, and so I missed the final milestone by like I think it was 30,000 points is all, very little. But it didn't really matter. It was just 80 shards for Earthquake I would have used for TP, and I already had his gear. So I did get a second copy of the skill plate, although currently I have no plans for either copy. Um, but I always like Feud when there's at least good solo milestones, like, other than when we get the, like, what is it, 500 diamonds, and those ones are great. We love 500 diamonds and like 15 TP. So
Yeah,
this is a way better style of Feud, and hopefully they keep this style where they give us something to play for. I definitely liked the first one that got canceled, the layout, the setup for that better. Um, the row bonuses in this one were pretty specific to certain guys and pretty tough if you didn't have those guys. So, it wasn't bad because you could do some other stuff with it, like you said, if you had bleed guys and that kind of stuff, and some multi guys. But I didn't particularly love the bonuses and the lines and stuff for this one. So, but it wasn't bad overall. I think that's the main thing was they gave everyone a chance to get the gear and the plate again from the first Feud fiasco. So that gave you 2 weekends where you had a chance to potentially get that if you missed it. So that was kind of good, at least.
yeah. I'm sure people are gonna love me for saying this, but I almost feel like they made it too easy to get the gear and the plate. What do you think about that?
I mean, there's people running around with 3 sets of the plate. A lot of people with 2. Given how bad the mess up was, I don't think I'll say it was too easy, because maybe you had that weekend free and then you weren't going to have them because the showdown was on a holiday weekend. So, and a lot of the European people completely missed it.
Yeah.
So I don't really
But
have.
it's kind of hard to miss an entire showdown.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it wasn't exactly hard milestones to hit in the showdown. So maybe a little too easy, maybe, but I don't mind it. Um, I think if you were going to get Earthquake anyway, this probably didn't help you. You just have some more shards, and if
Yeah.
you weren't going to get them, it probably didn't help you to get those shards. Maybe a few people that were right on the fence. Uh, I recruited him before Feud started, like the day before, so the extra Feud shards wouldn't have helped me. Um, were they not there? So I know some people they definitely helped, and for those people, I think it's really cool they got him, because I don't think there's going to be an excessive amount of Earthquakes running around. He's pretty hard to get.
Yeah, I just wonder uh, if it wouldn't have been better since they did move the gear and the plate to showdown to just have something else that was good for this feud.
I mean that might have been okay.
Yeah,
Like an alternate, equally awesome prize kind of thing.
something, something.
Okay, I
But
can live with that.
anyways, just throwing it out there. It
Yeah.
seemed like, I mean, yeah, it's great for the people that missed out, like you said, and also for the people that couldn't do it on the weekend. But yeah, it makes me wonder what did we miss out by them repeating the gear and the plate. So
That,
maybe it would have been junk. Maybe so. But
right. No, that's a valid point. I'm gonna agree with you this time. Okay. So I guess we kind of started talking about Earthquake a little bit there, and Typhoon. I ended up taking my Typhoon to 4-star gold. Where'd you take yours?
4-star gold as well.
What do you?
Typhoon is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you have a move set you like more than others? Do you have multiple move sets you like? What is it that makes him fun for you?
Well, I am of the belief that submissions give you the greatest statistical advantage when performing in a one-on-one environment. So I like using the green submission. The yellow to drop the gem damage is really powerful. And then obviously the finisher, especially if you're using Bailey, Booker T, not Booker T, yeah, Booker T, to create a bunch of protect gems. Yeah, that's really hard to beat. Apparently, unless you're Rey Mysterio making ×6 multiply gems every single turn. So unless you're facing that, yeah, Typhoon's really tough to beat, man. I mean, I like the green submission. You can easily make an argument for the green to create additional yellows. Some people even like saying double green. I like that yellow drop gem damage too much to run both greens. So just depending on what you're facing, like if it's a guy that has moves that go off every single turn, then the submission is really not going to help. So yeah, probably better to run the other green. If you're dealing with a guy that you can control, yeah, you can control him with the sub. Use Rikishi to fill up the yellows. Then yeah, once you drop the damage and lay out all the extra protect gems, because you'll get some from the sub as well. Nice, quick, cheap, easy wins. So lots to like about Typhoon. And then obviously, yeah, if you're just looking for pure speed, you can use the blue-yellow build just to heal yourself and just completely mow through 3-star players.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to you. That's interesting that you use the bear hug instead of the yellow generator. I mean, I can see it working just fine. You need the bear hug in like one green match, so steal in one green match, and then you're subbing them. And then you get those protect gems out there, so you're not going to be taking gem damage very much.
Yeah, and also depending on who you're facing, you make the green match, and sometimes you don't use the sub right away. I mean, you can hold on to it, try to get your yellows, and then wait for him to build up MP and then use it. Because I mean, if he only has like 2 or 3 in each move, then using a 6-turn sub is kind of a waste. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of there for you, ready when you need it. Sometimes you'll need it right away, and then yeah, you start getting protected, and that covers your butt while you get the yellows. Sometimes you don't need it right away, and then you can just start hunting for yellows. But yeah, overall, it depends the type of opponent you're facing and what you're trying to accomplish with it.
So, I agree with a lot of what you said. I just have one big issue with most of it. You used the word sub, so that's a pretty crappy build set because subs suck.
So, are you saying you're anti-sub?
Well, yes, I covered. Did you not watch the first podcast? You guest on this show and you didn't watch the previous one?
I clicked so that you would get a view, but I didn't actually watch it. I was told that was sufficient.
Well, I do appreciate the click.
Yeah, I mean, if you're general, I think you're asking too much. If we can just get everyone to click on it, like whether they watch it or listen to it or not is kind of irrelevant.
I mean, the click is important. You could also thumbs up it too.
See, you're asking too much now.
As long as you're already in there.
Yeah, that's too much. I'll get one of the minions to do it, but I'm not gonna do it myself.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, I would take your build set that you like running and improve upon it by running the Rib Breaker instead, and having him make some random yellows. However,
wait a minute. One thing even though I didn't watch it, I do have people do things for me, and they did give me quick notes, and I believe one of the overwhelming arches of the podcast was your belief that everyone with a sub sucked. So with that in mind, how do you feel about Typhoon?
Well, Typhoon is great as long as you don't use the sub.
Oh, interesting.
So if you don't use his sub, you're going to win a bunch. Interestingly, some of the movesets I like, the green, double yellow. I also like double green with the finisher. Get more protect gems out that way. So that's another moveset and build I like. His double green moveset. I can kind of show what those moves would be. It would be these two.
So there's the one green that makes the yellows, and then you're saying there's another green that makes additional protect gems. Is that?
Yeah. So the other green move, basically what happens is you use it, and it drains their MP, and then at the end of it, you throw out some submission gems. I'm sorry, some protect gems.
That sounds really strong.
It is very strong, but you're using it for the protect gems. That's the whole point of that one. So I think of that move as a protect gem move.
Okay, that's fine.
And then, of course, the blue set is great for, like you said, beating up on lower ones, being fast, healing a bunch, healing other guys. Super great kit on Typhoon. Like, honestly, not disappointed him being 4-star gold at all. A great addition to my showboats. The 4-star golds I have now are Mankind, Dango, and Typhoon. And like
I mean, for a lot of people, he's going to be, if not the best, one of the best showboats that they have. So
right, yeah. If you're
might
free,
as well. Hopefully, I mean, maybe a little late now, but hopefully they listen to you on that video where you told people, hey, you should try to level them up as much as you can for free because this guy's pretty good.
Right. Yeah. Whether you have a big roster, a small roster, medium roster, I think he has a place on it. And while his tokens are free, take him as far as you can. He's super useful, super strong, ton of utility. Very few guys have the kit that he does. So I would definitely say take advantage of that and level him up. Is there anything? Oh, yeah. And then a lot of you probably got a strap for him. So a little decent amount of you probably got a legendary strap for him. There was a legendary Powerhouse one in the milestones for the feud. But I don't know. Did you get a legendary strap for him?
Yeah, I got I looked at the options and I decided on the skip turn one.
Wait. You decided on the skip turn one?
Yeah, that's the one I wanted.
That's the one I wanted too.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted that one too. I picked that one as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why anyone would have picked anything else.
You know, I heard that some people did pick other ones, and I didn't understand why. The skip turn one seems a lot more useful.
Yeah. People need to work on hitting the button, man. Their ability to hit the button is not where it needs to be.
There's a lot of nuances to this game, and pressing the button is definitely one of them. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, you know what else we didn't talk about? And I do actually want to point this out. One other thing with Typhoon, his coach ability. 15% more damage to reds, and blast gems do 25% more damage. So the only other coach I can think of that does blast gem stuff is Ray, and very few people have Ray. So Typhoon is a great coach who fits in really well with a lot of other characters. So
I'm just glad we finally have something to help out those poor underprivileged powerhouses.
I know that's a very weak class, the Powerhouse. Super, super weak class. I suppose that's probably what we're going to have to talk about today. Let's start with Earthquake. Are you okay with that there, Jim? Can we start with Earthquake?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So I'll bring him up since I have him and you don't. So I'll show. What was that?
So that seemed unnecessary.
I mean, I'm just pointing it out. Just like subs suck, I think it's important to point out that maybe you didn't click the right button when it comes to Earthquake.
I mean, I can't shoot arcs of lightning from my mind. You realize this, right?
Touche. Yeah, okay. So, Earthquake. If you got his gear, and if you got Earthquake, I don't really see how you couldn't have got his gear, most likely, unless maybe you got him from a bag. So don't be offended if that's you and you didn't get his gear. But his gear is very, very good. All color moves start with 4 more move points, MP. If you finish the solo milestones, you got his strap, which is a legendary, and I also clicked the right button and clicked the stun strap for that. His moveset is really, really interesting. So the big thing, I see Earthquake being a very huge problem for people in Feud, because he is going to be one of those turn 1 guys where he can do multiple moves. Let's take a look at, and none of my moves are leveled yet, but I'll show you. So this move set, we have the Canadian Backbreaker. It's an 8 MP move, buffs his gem damage, and then you got 2 yellow moves, 8 and 9 MP each. So
Canadian Backbreaker also originating in TWO, for those unaware.
It did. It really did. TWO brought us some amazing stuff. Dr. Talks a Lot last podcast brought up the fact that they introduced tag team wrestling, for example. So I don't know if you caught that or your minions told you about that.
Yeah, that's I get the newsletter from Dr. Sparks, and yeah, it was all in there. It's a fascinating read. Everyone should subscribe to the newsletter.
Wait,
another little known fact is that Canada actually brought us the Powerhouse class in general. The Powerhouse class was invented in Canada, in a sister organization to the TWO known as WCW. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
WCW.
Yes, the Winnipeg Championship Wrestling.
No, I wait. Is that where never mind. I don't think I know about that one. Carry on.
Yeah, you shouldn't try just making up facts like that. Makes you come off as really unprofessional.
Interesting.
So, the in WCW, before this monumental change, it was actually just a bunch of little guys from Mexico wearing masks. That was the only wrestlers that existed. Then there was a breakthrough in Canada, and the first powerhouse was actually, he was named Poutine, the Winnipeg Dream. Basically, they had all these Mexican guys wearing masks, and there was a guy eating gravy cheese fries, and he was a little bit hefty fella, and they're like, hey, let's throw this guy in there. So then he came in, he smacked his belly, he threw the small luchadors all around the place. It was a big hit. So we have WCW to thank for that.
Interesting. I did not know that. Those fries sound amazing, though. Do they still make those if you go to a WCW event?
Yes, they are basically cheese fries covered in gravy.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, the cheese is a cheese curd though, which some people, they find the texture a bit off. It's something that I wouldn't recommend you eat an entire bowl of, but yeah, it's tasty in small doses.
Okay, well, I might look into trying that should I ever go to one of those events. Back to what I was saying. So you get a guy like Shamrock on there, dual MP trainer, and you have 2 MP up perks, so Feud, Blitz, Tours, and in the yellow move set in red, all of your moves are going to be ready turn 1. So you're looking at buffing your move damage, or your gem damage, which this is 50% right out the gate, and then you're gonna drop 6 blast gems, and you get to choose where. So you can kind of make them in clusters and get a decent amount of the board, clusters of 2, because then you can pick 3 to destroy. So all of that you're doing turn 1 with that move set, and not using a traditional MP trainer. So in Feud, that's going to give you a ton ton more options. Earthquake's going to be very fast. He's going to hit very hard. The other moveset that I like for him, and if you don't have Ray, maybe this moveset is better. I don't know. I haven't tested him yet. This is the moveset I'm looking forward to running because I don't have Ray. And it's going to be the green double red moveset. And same principle applies. Because the red is 8 MP and the green is 9, if you happen to have Tyler Breeze, you can use another double MP trainer. And you're going to start with the red move turn 1 and the green move turn 1 if there's 2 MP perks in play. So throw Tyler Breeze on there, throw someone like Phenom or Bulldog for red gem damage, throw Earthquake on there, or Typhoon on there for some more red gem damage, and turn 1 you're going to up it 50%. You're going to then drop a 3x3 area into reds. If you don't pin them, then you're going to drop the finisher and blow up 3 columns, I believe it is, or rows, one or the other. Anyway, it's 3 of them. And then, if they somehow survive that, then you just get to pretty much start over. So Earthquake is going to be a huge problem in Feud. He looks kind of like Powerhouse Kane with gear, except better, I think. I have a Powerhouse Kane with gear at 4-star gold, and I think Earthquake could possibly outdamage him. So I think he's a very strong character, very good, and his coach ability is also phenomenal, and that is going to be great on Protect Gem guys. So he's going to make Typhoon that much better. He'd be huge on Dango. A lot of guys he'd be great on. So yeah, Earthquake, another great guy. If you get that gear, I think he's going to be a problem. He's going to be tough for people to deal with. Your thoughts on Earthquake?
Yeah, I mean, you said a bunch of words, but the general gist that I got was that he's going to blow up a bunch of gems and do a lot of damage. Would you concur?
Yeah, and that's pretty great.
Yeah, and I mean, really, to be honest, you could have stopped the analysis at he's a powerhouse.
I think there's some truth to that, actually.
Because powerhouses are pretty much all fantastic. It's really hard to find a extremely useless powerhouse.
I actually pretty much agree. I'm going through my roster right here, and
I mean, let's think this over.
Okay.
So powerhouses. Let's try to think of powerhouses that you would rather have than Earthquake right now. Let's not even say Earthquake with gear, because now we're getting greedy. Because at that point, yeah, it might be like 2 people or something. Or if you want to do it with gear, I guess it doesn't matter. But
let's do it with gear. I want to do it with gear.
All right.
So who I'd rather have with gear than Earthquake?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of your head right away, does someone immediately stand out as, I would much rather have this powerhouse?
I think only one. I think just Hogan.
No. I mean, in terms of just the fighter, yeah, there aren't going to be a lot that really head and shoulders stand above him. But if you look at everyone else, I mean, it's not that huge a drop off. I mean, there is a drop off, but all these powerhouses at 4-star gold, they're all really powerful. Lots of gen damage. Usually the finishers are pretty strong. Their health pool is big. I mean, right away, someone like Zombie Stone Cold is already considered kind of like the cream of the crop in terms of wrestlers. So he's a powerhouse. Yeah, and you can keep going. You mentioned Kane with gear.
Yep.
How much further down would you say Kane with gear is compared to Earthquake with gear?
It really depends on how much difference that 50% gem damage buff makes. if it makes as big a difference as it looks like it will, it looks like it's going to get applied after your other bonuses stack. So at the end, it's going to be really big. So if that's the case, I mean, probably he'll probably be better, like clearly better, but not like insanely better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another difference is Earthquake is using blast gems, correct?
You can. One build uses blast gems. The other build, and if you have Ray, I think that's clearly his highest damaging one, probably. If you don't have Ray, then maybe this green double red moveset. Although again, I haven't tested it personally yet, but that's the one I'm pretty hyped to try because I don't have Ray.
Yeah, the one that makes the red area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, and that kind of gets us to another point with when it comes to powerhouses. Like you have your really strong blast gem guys. Then you have your guys that destroy areas with either row or column breaks. So Kane uses row breaks, I believe. Is that correct?
He doesn't use row breaks. He
breaks rows.
Yeah, I mean, same difference basically, but yeah, you're destroying 3 rows.
Yeah. And then Powerhouse Nash, I know that's someone that you had, let's say, less than maybe a couple of months ago, you were touting as potentially the best powerhouse.
Yeah, super high damage when you look at what he could potentially do in blowing up the board and that kind of stuff with the columns and stuff if you had Farouk. So I still think he's going to be a super high damage guy. Definitely towards the top, I would say, probably.
Yeah, I mean, again, with powerhouses in general, so much gem damage. I mean, they're second, to strikers probably?
Yeah, the second to strikers, and they have the second biggest health pool behind showboats once they hit 4-star gold. You don't get those bonuses. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, if you're talking about guys that blow up the board, those are immediately going to be very useful. I know Zombie Stone Cold has that blast gem build, so technically, even though most people use him as a stunner, he does. Haha, you see what I did there?
I do.
Yeah. He has the blast gems. Recent guys also with blast gems. There was a Shelton Benjamin, another guy that was completely free and really good. What are your thoughts on Shelton Benjamin?
When he came out, I said I thought he was going to be really good. Powerhouse is my most loaded class. I have 3 4-star golds. Well, 4 now counting Earthquake, and then a 4-star silver as well in Z-Rock. So I didn't take him past 4-star bronze, but once he gets started, he recycles himself. He hits really hard. He's very good. Very, very good.
Another example of someone that was completely free and could be among the best people in a class, especially for newer players.
Right, yeah, he might be the best powerhouse on your roster, depending on what you all have.
I mean, recently, Typhoon, we talked about, that might be your best showboat. Bailey, for a lot of people, probably their best woman.
I have Z-Page, and I have way more fun playing Bailey, so yeah, Bailey was a huge, huge bonus for me.
Yeah, Bailey plays no games.
Yeah.
What was before there? So I think Shelton was a couple before that.
Yeah, we had Brett.
There was Brett. Yeah, I mean, Striker is also very loaded, but again, depending who you have, he very well could be one of your best ones.
Right. So, plus, once he's going, he's recycling his finisher every single turn. So, yeah, Brett's very, very good too. He's like a Volkov without gear, except a little bit. I think he's actually maybe a little better than Volkov without gear. Might get some people mad or argue about that one, but it's very comparable anyway.
Yeah, so I think it's easy for people to sleep on these events, but depending on where your roster is and what your needs are, don't sleep on these free characters. I mean, once you identify that it's someone good, if you're going to be able to level him up without using resources by using these tokens, by all means, get him as far as you can, because in some situations, they may end up being one of the best people on your roster.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Like, when you're trying to get your first 3-star gold, and mine I think was Matt Hardy actually on my roster. Um,
Very good.
the tokens were the hard part, right? Like I could farm TP, I could save coins, and but it took forever to get the tokens. When I was starting out building my roster, getting stronger, tokens were always the slowdown. So you might consider on some months like holding your other projects to get your first 4-star bronze in a class. Maybe you can even get to 4-star silver. It'd make a big difference for your roster. If you're not sure if it's a good month to do so, ask some experienced players that do well in your faction. You're welcome.
Maybe check out the Mherex YouTube page.
Yeah, feel free to do that. Join my Discord server, whatever.
Cheap plug.
Yeah, cheap plug for sure. I appreciate it. But yeah, you know the tokens were always the slowdown for me leveling up, building my roster. I'm assuming it's still that way. So
especially for earlier, if you're earlier in your roster development,
yes.
I gotta imagine that's still the slowdown. I mean, for people later on, yeah, it's for sure coins and TP, just because now you can do better in those events that randomly give you tokens. But early on, I mean, you're not going to be able to, max out any talent ups or really get to any of those tiers or milestones that give you those tokens. So I'd imagine early on, those people are still having a lot of trouble getting those tokens.
Yeah, and really too, Powerhouse is a class where it's going to take you a while to fill it out because you got some guys you have to level pretty much. I mean, you got your gem generators like Titus and Big John. You know, those are guys you're going to have to level. I don't think we have an MP.
Rusev.
Yeah, Rusev.
I mean, we talked about how important you have an entire subclass of Blast Gem characters within the Powerhouse. So yeah, it makes sense that you need to get your Blast Gem trainer up and ready to go. Get him the 5K. That's going to be Rusev, who is also a Powerhouse.
Indeed.
Yeah. Big Cass, he uses Blast Gems.
Yeah, if you've been playing a long time and got him, he's pretty solid. He plays just like Bree, who's also a Powerhouse.
Yeah. I'll tell you one guy that I think is underrated. I think he's actually top tier.
Oh, here we go.
Within houses, and most people have him maybe second or third tier. But I think easily, and now even stronger case can be made for Brock Lesnar. What are your thoughts on that?
He has a sub, so he sucks.
So, Brock Lesnar, with the introduction of X-Pac creating that extra red gem on the match, that really, really completely changed Brock. So he went from someone that's kind of slow, kind of clunky, to now suddenly you can make one red match and then your next turn fill your board up with blast gems, basically explode the entire board, and then from there you have choices. You can use your yellow gem to fill your red moves up and try to do it all again. You now, from the blast gems, have probably gotten some more red gems, so now you can use a submission move, which is very long, very strong, and that leaves blast gems. So you take away the character's MP, you damage them, and oh, by the way, here's a bunch of blast gems for your trouble. You could choose to really go fully offensive and ignore the defense, like some weaker minds choose to do, and use the black move that gives you even more blast gems. So you can easily get into a situation where you use a blast gem move, you blow up most of the board, and suddenly you're using your red to make random blast gems. You're using your black to make random blast gems. You're using your red to place extra blast gems. So now you can connect all of the randoms. You blow up the board again, refilling everything. If for some reason you're short on something, you could use the yellow to get more reds to create more blast gems. You can use the sub to slow the other character down if you just want to not take damage and slow them, and give yourself an infinitely greater chance of winning. Brock Lesnar is pretty fantastic in a powerhouse class that mostly all of them are really great. So for me to say that he is pretty top tier in that class, I think that really should tell you how great I think he potentially is.
I think like for certain playstyles and what people like, he's definitely a powerhouse that a lot of people might like more or less than other powerhouses. If you like the sub game and you like control and you like having high damage too, Brock fits all of that. He like you said, he gives you a lot of options. So yeah, he's definitely not gonna hurt you. Like I can think of other guys I'd do first, but like as a second one, for sure. Maybe though, I mean, you might have Brock. Let's say you did the DX vault, and you pulled Brock out of there because he's in there. He could very easily be one of your better powerhouses right now. So, he, like I said, he's not going to hurt you. Brock is used in a lot of events. He's very solid, and super high damage once those blast gems start going out. So yeah, I don't have an issue with what you're saying. I think playstyle plays a lot into it, and if you have fun with a guy that's good besides, 100% use him.
And that, I mean, now going back to the powerhouse class as a whole, again, we're talking about someone that we're saying is extremely good, and a lot of people view him as second or third tier. And that's not because people don't realize that he's good. It's just because there's so many good powerhouses. Like,
Right.
it's not a knock on Brock. I picked Brock just because I think he is maybe a little bit lower than he should be, but that's not because the other guys aren't good, because all of these powerhouses are extremely good.
Right. Like,
Now, we talked about Blast Gem guys.
mm-hmm.
I mean, the original Blast Gem powerhouse, Roman Reigns. I mean,
Yeah.
if
He,
if that's all you got, if let's say for whatever reason you're starting out and you pull a 3-star gold Roman Reigns when you don't have any 3 stars, and you somehow get him the 4 stars, yeah, that's going to be great. You're going to be able to win a lot of matches and a lot of good stuff.
yeah. So he's similar to Brock without the sub. If you have X Pac, he's gonna charge up in one match with Sting and X Pac. So, and honestly, a lot of perks now add to the charging as well, the charging of moves. So he might charge up too. He's certainly serviceable. Can do a decent amount of damage. So, yeah, I mean, he might be mid tier on the power list charts now, or the tier list charts now. But don't go off of the tier list. There's another guy, like if he's your favorite wrestler, go ahead and level him. Maybe not as your first powerhouse, but as your second. Why not? I mean, he's
Yeah.
certainly usable.
Yeah, with powerhouses, it gets to a point where to be honest with you, I would recommend leveling whoever has the least amount of hollow stars, just so that you get full advantage of the health and the gem damage. I mean, you're not really going to go wrong with most powerhouses. There are a couple of guys that probably should stay at 5K, just because you for sure need them there for training abilities. And yeah, they're probably going to be usable at 4-star and above, but like we're saying, there's just so many good ones. There are a couple guys that just need to stay at 5K probably for training. So right away, guys that come to mind: Rusev, Big John Studd. Titus is actually surprisingly kind of decent when he moves to 4-star, but
Yeah.
not someone that really I would recommend emphasizing. Then we have other guys that are good trainers and that are probably very useful at 5K, but if you wanted to take them even further, hey, you could probably get a lot of mileage out of them. Batista is a good example of that. So he's the red move damage. He's someone that, especially now with all these other powerhouses that we're using for, he's someone that in some builds can be very useful as a trainer. But once you get him to 4-star gold, yeah, he's doing submissions, he's doing blast gems, he recycles extremely well. He's extremely annoying to deal with. A guy that usually is considered a joke, but I think isn't that bad, especially at 4-star, is going to be John Cena. So I'm not saying you should focus on him, but similar to the Sergeant Slaughter discussion last week, at 3 stars, most people think John Cena is one of the worst people on their rosters. At 4-star, suddenly, if you have X-Pac, 2 red matches, and you might win the match on your first finisher.
Yep, he's gonna botch mania as long as you have like Arn Anderson and stuff. Botches everywhere, so it's Powerhouse just has tons and tons of good guys, and he's got a 9K ability too, so it's not a waste there. With the very similar to Batista's. So if you had a guy, I don't, but if you had a guy like Hall of Fame Scott Hall and you want to buff that huge finisher even more, you might use one of those 2 guys on him.
Yeah, Batista, you mentioned he also has a 9K. I believe. Let's see here, at 9K, 50% more for the red moves, and probably a little bit useful. He's bumping up your red NP by 1.
Yep.
So a mini MP trainer. And like we said, by himself, actually a really good fighter. So Batista, again, someone that not very good at 3-star, but at 4-star suddenly becomes extremely good.
Yeah, fight him on the
probably. Go ahead.
Fight him on the road if you want to see. He uses the sub in the blast gem build.
Yeah, I think black double green is what he's using there.
Yep, he can be really annoying to deal with.
Yeah. Probably the face of this guy was not very good, and suddenly he's one of the best. The legend, Bill Goldberg. What do you think about that? What do you think about that guy?
I have him 4-star gold. Really hard to disagree with. The only guy I can think of right off at 4-star gold, his choose move moves from 8 MP down to 7. His gear adds, I believe it's +2 to the choose. I'll double check. Yep, +2. And then if you have a 9K Acom, that's another 1. So you're talking about, what is that? 2, 3 plus his 4. So you're at 7. And then if you add...
Did you just pause going from 2 to 3 to 4?
Yes. So you get you get 2 for the gear, which is 2. And then you get 1 for Acom, which is 3. So, 2 plus 1 is 3. And then you're choosing 4 more. So 4 plus 3 is 7. So you're up to 7. And then your red gem generator, which is what, Big John? I'm brain fart, but I'm pretty... Yeah, it's Big John.
Yeah, that is.
So now you're up to 11. Choosing 11 reds.
In a gem damage that is second only to strikers.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty dirty.
And by the way, is there a red gem damage coach?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Phenom, Roman Reigns, and Davey Boy Smith.
Not trainer, coach.
Oh, coach. Yes, there is Drew. And no, Typhoon.
Typhoon. Interesting.
Yeah.
Seems like that guy's pretty useful.
He's very useful.
Does he have any other coaching abilities?
Yes, it also buffs blast gems, which Goldberg puts out some blast gems too. And a bunch of powerhouses do, and red's their primary one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It almost seems like this Typhoon guy is very useful for powerhouses, especially blast house powerhouses.
It kind of does. I mean, maybe that's why we went from talking about Typhoon to Powerhouse. Nah, it can't be.
Probably not. I
Nah.
mean, we'd have to do more research to come up with any kind of conclusion for that.
Yeah, and this podcast is not based on any intelligent conversation.
Unfortunately.
Which is why you're here.
So we've mentioned that a lot of guys that seemingly weren't very good get really good at 4-star. A lot of guys are very good and are actually better than you probably think they are. We have some people that so there was that plate that just came out. What's going on with that plate?
Are we talking about the like the earthquake quake plate, whatever it was, this seismic plate? I can't even think of the name of it.
Yeah, what does that thing do?
I don't know. It's like you break some greens or and get red MP or something like that.
So I mean, obviously for earthquake, that's going to be a big deal. Um, Not saying that people have legendary belts for this guy, but Vader is someone that we haven't even mentioned talking about powerhouses. Where would you see Vader? Is that a guy you think is worth leveling?
Vader's pretty good. They're like we say, 4-star gold, a lot of good powerhouses. Um, and if you feuded this last feud, you did get a strap for Vader, a legendary. So, yeah, if they ever offer his Christmas gear for a decent price, he starts with a bunch more green. Maybe they'll put it on a prize wall. Vader's definitely solid. He was kind of the shining star of powerhouses back in the day. He's still pretty good. Not quite top tier, but pretty close. You get something like that skill plate and maybe the gear, and maybe that makes all the difference in the world for Vader. Again, another guy, maybe not your first powerhouse, but like a second one to fill out new gen. Maybe you didn't get Earthquake, so you're gonna level up Vader for your new gen slot. You could do a lot
Yeah.
worse.
So most of these guys you've been mentioning, oh, maybe not your first powerhouse, but a good second one. But if you end up with this guy as your top powerhouse from a pull or just because you don't like any of the other people you have, you're really not going to be in a bad situation with
Nah,
most of these guys that we've mentioned.
yeah, they're gonna be usable. Like Sheik, we
Yeah.
haven't talked about Sheik or Ultimate Warrior. Both of
Yeah.
those guys completely usable at 4-star gold, strong
Yeah.
in their own ways. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there's lots of great powerhouses. So I think kind of too what we're saying is find one you like. If you got like a bunch of shards for one, or like my colleague here was saying, if you got one with a bunch of full stars, or you pull someone at 4-star and requires less tokens, just go for it. Most of them are pretty solid.
Yeah, I think shards is going to be a big one too. There's some people that you're just going to end up with way more shards for. So if you end up deciding to make that investment, it's going to be very easy for you to fill them up. And in the long term, you're going to be getting something that you're not really having to put too much additional resources into. For example, I had an extremely high amount of zombie Charlotte shards, and I took her all the way to 3-star gold. And because she's a powerhouse, oh, hey, guess what? She's pretty good. Like, not really too upset with zombie Charlotte as a powerhouse at 4-star gold.
Plus, one of those dual class trainers, and we've talked a little bit about it. She gives 25% increased chance for purple gems on the initial gem board. Those in the coach slot are pretty amazing
Yeah.
to for like a guy, let's say like Zombie Austin. You want to make sure you get your purple matches to keep looping your stun. Those are great. Sasha's
Useful
got the yellow
useful
one.
on the useful on the fiend for the people that took part in the press the button event at some point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Very strong, very useful in the coach slot. So quite good.
So we haven't done a very good job of identifying powerhouses that really aren't worth leveling or you should really stay away from. Here's a guy that you almost never hear anyone talk about. Surely you're not going to like this guy. British Bulldog.
Um, actually,
Oh,
he
come on.
hear me out.
Okay. Go
I
on.
am hoping from the Silver League loot that I pull him at 4-star. I won't use tokens on him with all the powerhouses I have, but if I pulled him at 4-star, I got a bunch of shards for him. I would absolutely look forward to messing with him. He's got 2 moves that don't move the pin bar at 4-star, and you can do a lot with guys that don't move the pin bar. So I actually would mess around with him just to see, because so far the pin bar guys that I've played, I super enjoy that playstyle. So if I ever get a 4-star fuse of him, I'm absolutely gonna mess with that.
Yeah, we're reaching now. I'm really trying. I'm trying to find a powerhouse that's no good, and we're getting low here. Hell, what about people that aren't even in the game anymore? Someone like Ryback or King Barrett.
Barrett, super useful. Red Destroy trainer. Also, we didn't talk
Okay.
about Vader. His 9K ability lets you destroy red gems, so if you missed out on Barrett, Vader can fill that gap as well. So another reason to take him up. Ryback has a super huge red finisher, so coming in off a hot tag with, say, Batista and Cena training him, he would hit super hard. Situational, but I mean, hey, maybe you want to do it to be different. So I could see both of those still, maybe
And
you're
the
going to.
coach ability is also, well, trainer ability, I guess.
Yep.
Destroying extra multiply gems.
Yep.
All right. We're gonna find some bad powerhouses in here somewhere. Off the top of your head here, I'm having trouble here. What are some powerhouses that you would for sure say don't level these guys? So most of them, if you end up having them as one of your fighters, you're probably going to be okay. Obviously, some are considered better than others, but there aren't any that are, or there aren't many that are quote unquote bad. And even the ones that aren't maybe not great, they're really good trainers. So it makes sense to bring them all the way at least to 5K. Who would you literally not level even to 5K? Give me one guy.
Gas Mask Ambrose.
Ooh, that's got to sting for you to say
Yes,
that.
it does sting, but he's terrible.
I mean, he has that one turn move that turns multiply gems into blast gems. I mean,
Maybe
that's
against
gonna
Harper.
completely neutralize all these high elite acrobats that most people don't have, which I guess is something.
Yeah, I Acros are weak gem damage, so no. Yeah, I wouldn't level Ambrose.
Yeah, not worth it for such a
Niche.
niche ability. I
Yeah.
mean, if you have a 4-star gold Ambrose, sure. I mean, you're not scared of people like Rey Mysterio or all the other acrobats that are making all these high multiply gems because you're just turning them into blast gems every turn. But I mean, really, is that what you're going to invest in? And now you can't even pull him. So basically, either you have him already, or there's really no point leveling him.
Yep.
Another guy that somehow is even worse than his King of King variants, I'd say is Powerhouse Triple H.
Whoa. Hold on.
I have no desire to level Powerhouse Triple H.
King of Kings is actually pretty good at 4-star, and really solid at 4-star gold. But that being said,
But that hammer, that sledgehammer animation, is the absolute worst.
just because it takes a little while,
It a little while,
okay, you can
like
go make a cup of coffee and come back, and he's almost finished.
yeah, like it doesn't look good. It takes forever. It's horrible. It's easily my least favorite animation. I mean, he takes the sledgehammer. He's not slamming it against the guy's head, he's not spiking them into the ground. He's poking them in the tummy. He rubs their tummy and then he flexes in joy, celebrating his tummy rub.
I'm not gonna validate what you just said, so
It's all true.
I will
Check it out.
just I will just continue with yes. Powerhouse the game is pretty terrible.
Pretty low in terms of people that you wouldn't want to level that much.
You know, a guy that people used to really talk up a lot in the 3-star game. I remember being told Bam Bam was a pretty good choice. I
Mm.
granted he gets a stun, but his moves are kind of clunky, and I know there are ways you can play him, and this is probably going to make a lot of people mad. But I wouldn't at this point with all the other options. I don't think I would level Bam Bam, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. We've spent all this time talking about how you can't really pick a bad powerhouse to level. But I would say that if Triple H or the first guy we mentioned,
Gas Mask Ambrose.
yeah, if Ambrose, Triple H, Bam Bam Bigelow are your favorite wrestlers, don't make them your primary powerhouse. Like, it's unfortunate for Bam Bam because, like Mherex here said, a lot of people that early on played the game. I mean, that stun, was he the first person that had a skip turn?
He might have. His move damage was also quite high on his 3-star set too, so he
Yeah.
could do some
I
pretty
mean,
good.
even if he wasn't the first one to have it, he was easily the first prominent person to have it. So people that it's kind of the same thing that you saw with Striker Bray Wyatt, where people had them very high in their tier lists for 3-star. 4 stars were brought out, so I can imagine there's probably some people that, hey, this is my best guy, I'm taking him the 4-star, and maybe that worked out for a while, but I would highly advise against doing that right now.
Yeah, I agree.
What about the ladies? We've only discussed Zombie Charlotte. We have Nia Jax, also a powerhouse.
Yeah,
Thoughts on?
I mean, we said this kind of last one when we were talking about the female tricksters. A lot of the females are very, very close. So if you happen to pull an Aya or have her, she gets a lot better at 4-star. She's not the best of them, but certainly would be usable. Bree and China are definitely better. I think I would rather have Zombie Charlotte as well. So she's probably the worst of the female powerhouses, but still usable.
Yeah, I mean, if you suddenly pulled her at 4-star and you don't have a 4-star yet, yeah, I mean, sure, why not? But yeah, I mean, in general, powerhouse analysis most of the time can stop at this person is a powerhouse.
Pretty much, yeah. I think
I
we.
I look forward to finding a bad powerhouse. You know, one of these Masters of the Universe is going to be a powerhouse, and he's going to stink, just to spite everything that we've been talking about right now.
I mean, probably. I could see it happening. I'm pretty sure that the developers from Scopely listen to all of these podcasts we do intently. And when I say all of them we do, I mean all 2 of them so far.
Are you on both of them?
I am on both of them. You're not, though.
I don't see what that has to do with anything.
I mean, I was just giving the people information. That's what we do. Anyway, back to Masters of the Universe, bad powerhouse. I don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe it will, but
It would be very hard given the trend of powerhouses.
it would be very hard. But we don't want to give Scopely a chance to say "hold my beer," so let's not tempt the gods. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they already made a King of King clone, so
Well, let's hold on. Let's talk about this now, since you brought it up. Let's talk about the new guys. And do you want to? You know what? You're the guest here. Would you rather talk about the new Cena first, or would you rather talk about Trips first?
I would like to talk about Cena first because I am excited about potentially having a Cena where it makes a lot of sense to maybe have him at 4-star. Because right now the Cenas that we have, yeah, they're basically just they're there. I mean, if you never level any Cena, it's probably not going to hurt you at all.
Except for the zombie one.
Sure.
And I know you have him because you're good at clicking the button, right?
I clicked a different button.
Oops. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. This is awkward. Let's not dwell.
I pressed the Acro Macho Man button instead.
Did you?
Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about Striker John Cena.
Okay. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I feel like you're probably going to say a bunch of words, so I'm going to let you talk while I enjoy a sip of delicious, refreshing Big Red.
Okay.
Big Red. It's delicious.
So, since they haven't given us any product yet, why are we still plugging them this much?
Because they might.
Oh, so you're pandering to get some delicious Big Red, so we have unlimited free bubblegum strawberry tasting stuff.
Bubblegum strawberry may be cream soda. I think is the best way to describe it.
Okay.
No one knows what it is. I think the official description is red cream soda. I think red is the best way to describe the flavor.
Okay.
It's delicious. I love it.
Well, on that note, he looks interesting. I think there's a couple builds that look good. One is much more straightforward and probably easier to play. Random, little random, but it's going to be sort of like maybe a little more powerful 6 build if you're used to 6. So a little more damaging than that, but without the utility of the MP steel. That would be the double red and the black finisher. Basically, you're going to use the one red move to make black gems and get your finisher ready. And then you're going to make row break gems randomly with the other red. And then you're going to hit the finisher and destroy row break gems. So depending where...
Row bake?
Yes, row bake. It's a new gem. It looks like a roll of bread, kind of like a cinnamon roll. And it goes out in a swirl and damages that way.
That sounds OP.
It's super OP, and it smells delicious.
I think we should look to get sponsored by Robake. Let's talk about that after the show.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so a little bit random. Could do some big damage. Could do some not so big damage. Probably recycle itself a little bit. There should be some blacks left over from the random move. Trainers could be a little bit difficult. Sting, NWO, Nash, that kind of stuff.
Sergeant Slaughter.
You could use Slaughter. Mm-hmm.
Your 4-star Sergeant Slaughter.
Yes, you could. If you had a 4-star Sergeant Slaughter, if you were a bad player, you might. Or you just got unlucky and pulled him at 4-star. Anyway, that's a possible build. Like I said, kind of a little bit stronger 6, but with less utility. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's kind of the way I see him. I mean, he's a striker, so much like Powerhouses, but probably not to that extent. I mean, strikers, if you have a striker that can recycle, I mean, he's going to be pretty strong. So much like Powerhouses, guys that are going to break a lot of gems, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage with them. So he's making row breaks. It's unfortunate that they're random. I think if they were choose, this could be, things could get out of hand quickly. So with random, you have the possibility of them showing up on the same row, which kind of takes away from the damage output. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely someone that is interesting. He's going to be free, so it's generally a good idea for these guys. You want to level them up to some extent, just so that you can do these dailies that you mentioned are coming back again. So if you're just sitting with a level 1 John Cena, you're going to miss out on a lot of those ingots. So you want to make sure to level them up to some extent. And yeah, I mean, if you end up with him at 4-star whatever, then ultimately that's a resource free 4-star. And that's never a bad thing. So yeah, you mentioned having a little less utility potentially than 6. I would imagine most people probably have never even used 6's non-MP build. But yeah, I agree. He plays a lot like a maybe more higher output 6 without the MP steel. He has one kind of niche utility where he's making the protect gems into row break gems. So if you are having to use him against a protect gem guy, that could be useful in certain situations, but definitely not something that you want to bank on. You could kind of, depending on what trainers you have, do some interesting things with that. But overall, I would say, yeah, he's a solid character. Should probably get leveled up to some extent, but maybe not someone that you would want to focus on after the event is over.
Yeah, so there's also, you did mention if you could choose the row breaks. And you did talk about converting protect gems. So that brings up another second build for him, which is, I think, would require a little more thought, maybe, but a potentially really good build. It's going to be a tad slower, but when it goes off, you're going to blow up literally the entire board as a striker. So you're going to take that yellow move, and it's a choose 6 gems to make into protect gems of 1 strength. If you have Bailey coaching, you're choosing 7. So that's an entire line of protect gems. So you're going to go vertical with it. And then you're going to use his black move that converts all of them into row break gems. And then his finisher destroys 4 row break gems. Now, to get that to blow up the whole board, you'd have to train him with Gallows, and then use Bray to get the black started. And for coaches, you want to use Bailey to get that extra protect and make 7, and Rikishi to get the yellows. The yellow move is 8 MP, so you're going to need a match of yellow, a match of black, and you're probably talking turn 3. But on turn 3, you would blow up the entire board as a striker, and it would
and that probably is going to be the end of the match.
And if not, you probably have mostly recycled.
Yeah, I think this isn't the striker episode, but in general, I think a lot of emphasis gets put on recycling for 4-star gold. You mentioned how, yeah, you probably need an extra turn. The way I see it, though, if in that extra turn you're basically going to win, why do I even bother recycling?
Right.
So with that in mind, that second build becomes very intriguing because your options are, hey, use the first build and try to recycle, do some damage and really, start doing some things, or wait one more turn and probably win the match.
Also,
I mean, yeah, you're gonna need some non-standard trainers. I mean, Gallows, not a lot of people probably have him, but if you have those people that you just mentioned, I think that becomes a very powerful build.
Plus, it looks like talent up, you're going to get a legendary strap for him. Maybe that's one of those where you can click the button and choose the skip turn strap, in which case that gets a lot easier maybe to fill him.
Yeah. Um, it reminds me kind of the mindset for using that build would be similar to if you're using Shamrock. So with Shamrock, he doesn't go off turn 2, but turn 3, the match is pretty much over. So I think very similar to this. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do things turn 2, but turn 3 you're gonna be able to do a lot of damage, and not as much damage as Shamrock maybe, but you are gonna probably reload all of your moves because you're literally blowing.
Yeah, I agree. He seems like he's got some potential. Not bad for a free character. Would be a very good hot tag if you brought him in charged up too.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to the character assassination that has been King of Kings and your issue with the Evil Skull King character. Let's get to this.
So the problem is the hammer animation. So we didn't even talk about how great these over the top Cena animations are. Like he's jumping for no reason, slamming people high. I mean, he's a evil robot doppelganger. So yeah, it makes sense that he would do things that maybe mortal men couldn't do. I think that's a lot of fun. I have no problems with it. I'm sure for the purists that want their gem matching wrestling games to be like their grandpa used to play, maybe they won't like that. But for me, hey, this is a game. Let's have fun with it. So I really like the new Cena animations. And I'm just kind of disappointed that for Triple H, they didn't do the same thing. They gave him one really cool spinebuster animation, and then everything else is King of Kings, which wouldn't be so bad, except it also has that garbage hammer animation, the victorious belly rub.
But the movesets are amazing. He's going
Sure,
to blow
sure.
the entire
Moveset,
board
yes.
up turn 1.
Moveset, very good. Animation, and really just the one animation. I can't stress how much and how bad that hammer animation really is. Continue with your moveset analysis, sir.
Well, the best thing about him is he does not have a submission. He has a move that drains the opponent's MP and puts multiply gems on the board. So he doesn't have a submission, so I like him already.
Does that move do damage as it drains?
Yes, of course. It's a great move. It's just not a sub.
Interesting. Carry on.
With perks, 2 MP, so feud, whatever. He's turn 1, both purple moves. So if you run him Woods and Farouk, you are going to choose Woods, Farouk, and Drew at coach. You're going to choose 7 column gems, and then you're going to choose 3 blues. So if you connect it to 1 blue, you wipe out the whole line, blow up the whole board on turn 1 with plus 2 MP perk. Now once you do that, assuming there's 6 purples on the board, next turn you do it all over again, except 2 of those columns are plus 3 multiply gems, and it's over. No one's getting out of that. So that's turn 2, a lot of damage. You'll probably get some turn 1 wins too. There are other ways you could run him. I just happen to like the look of that. He looks super good. He looks like a like if X-Pac blew up the whole board.
Yeah, I mean, he's, especially with acros, like, acros are fast, but they always kind of lacking in gem damage. So now these guys that are considered the top acros, they make up for that because they're fast, but now they have these crazy multiply gems, and they can do a lot more gem damage, and that really brings them up to where they need to be in terms of, potentially being top tier. So yeah, I mean, I agree with there's probably a reason why this guy is going to be the month-long chase. Like, it's not going to be easy to get him, and if you happen to get him, you immediately have one of the top-tier acros in the game.
Yep.
I mean, that's why, we talk about the importance of the gem reduction perks, for like the straps and the medals and things like that. So likewise, gem damage is really huge. So strikers, we talked about how good they can be. Powerhouses, we just went through everyone and had a hard time finding people that were terrible. So now acros with really high multiply gems that blow up the board. I mean, again, you can't really go wrong with it. Would you overall agree with that sentiment?
I mean, assuming you have one of the top tier acros, probably.
Yeah.
Rico, Andrade, Triple H here, Ray with gear. I think those probably.
I mean, all those guys are acros, multiply gems.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a trend.
Yeah.
So, anything else? You really have to. I mean, we talked a lot more about Cena, but it's just with Triple H, with someone that's clearly this good. I mean, there's really not a lot of analysis that's required.
Yeah, there's other ways you could run him. He's got a moveset that looks kind of similar to Jimmy. I just feel like blowing up the whole board is the most attractive to me. So there's not a lot to say. He's going to be really great. Get him. Go for him. He looks awesome too. There's really no reason not to. Get him if you can.
Yeah, I think that other moveset, basically you're doing choose and then using the finisher to recycle. But yeah, if you just blow up the whole, then recycle complete.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. So I think I got it. So based on what I've heard from you, you really like Earthquake. Yes, I think he's very strong.
Yes.
He blows up the board, can get you a lot of gem damage.
Yes.
Can recycle. He's pretty fast. Similar, Triple H. He's gonna blow up the whole board. He's gonna be fast. He's gonna recycle. Seemingly, those are things that you really value in a wrestler, correct?
Of course, yes. That's exactly the kind of character I like. Those both fit into that. They're going to be great additions to my roster, assuming I can get Evil Skull King Triple H.
You also don't like submission moves.
Correct. They're the worst.
I'm getting that feeling from you.
They're the worst.
I've tried not to step on any toes based on your nomenclature of things. I'm kind of just letting it slide. I'm a guest here. Hey, I'm not one to judge. But I will say it does seem you are anti-submission.
That's fair and accurate.
Let me ask you something.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you think about X-Pac?
I hate him.
On that bit of disappointing news, I think we should end this podcast.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I'm actually sick of talking to you. This has not went as well as I hoped it would.
If I get one case of Big Red out of this, I think it's a victory.
I'm just hoping for tickets to one of the next TWO events, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Or WCW, get some poutine.
Yeah. Dude, that sounds amazing.
Don't sleep on the poutine. It is the original Powerhouse.
Gotcha. So, I guess we're at that stage where the things that have need to be said were said. We've thanked our supporters, TWO and Big Red. It's delicious. I think what's left to say is, if you're still listening to this, one, why? But two, like, subscribe, share. You can find my Discord info in there. Join the server. Hit me up. Message me in game. I want to thank Jeff for being on the show today. Thank you for being on the show, Jeff.
Hey, it was good to be here. And just if I could give all the players out there a little bit of advice, relax. It's a game. Have fun with it.